Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hello.
This week, we're going to be discussing the 2013 remake sequel, Evil Dead, starring some people. Good times had
I
by.
didn't see Ted Raimi. I
No
looked.
Ted Raimi in this one, I'm sad to say. Each week
So,
on the
so
podcast,
it's lesser. I'm just gonna say it's lesser because of that.
it is lesser. Each week on the podcast that wouldn't die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genres with a comedic twist. Aaron, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm a little tired. I decided I will in fact bathe today, but I am gonna put on my pajamas, and that's how it's gonna be for the whole day. But I did want to share with you. I think maybe you've seen this. For those who are just our listeners, it is something that was popularized in the 70s. It was a sign you could hold to other drivers, but most of it is sexually related. So I'm not sure if there were a lot of people murdered or raped in the 70s. So
What does
it's a
the
little
sign say for our listeners?
so you have multiple things. This one says need lust will travel, but there are questions. Do you fool around? Want a party? You just wave these at people. Pull over. Are you attached? But then there's like, get off my tail. No chance. Are you attached? You're super cute. Yeah, most of it is, or you can call someone an asshole and then flash the pull over sign, and then you're raped and murdered. See, there's like an angry pull over. And then what? The
Well,
rape or the murder
ideally,
happens next.
we hope you're watching the road, not eyeing like every every VW bug that rolls by. Very upsetting.
There's a sign that says, take me home with you. Love me till I scream.
And this is non-ironic. You're suggesting this is what people did.
This is just what people did in the 70s. And then after you get a good look at them, you can tell them to relax and then tell them they have no chance.
Interesting.
This was sold.
Both hands on the wheel while you're flipping the signs around and veering into a ditch.
I think this was advertised on TV. I'm trying to go back into my way back brain. Perhaps KTEL. You can buy it at any Thrifties or with your when you go in to get your Whitman sampler. You can also swing by and get this. It's a Ronco. It's a KTEL. It's one of those.
Now you were driving in the early 70s, right?
I was not. But so thank you anyway.
Do you remember being assaulted by these signs when you were driving in your youth?
Apparently, people were not hitting on me while I was sitting in my car seat. So, no.
Who's to say? Who's to say what their intentions were?
What a funny thing to say, a car seat in the 70s. You just rolled around on the floor. There were no goddamn baby seats. Even in when were the twins born? In the 80s?
1980.
1980. No car seats. They were in these baskets that they would just put behind the seats. That's how it was.
Just toss them in the back of the station wagon and just let the chips fall where they may, pretty much.
And that's why Gen X is stronger, because if you were weak, you just perished. So it was supernatural selection.
It was Darwin at his finest.
Darwin at his finest. You either survived it or you didn't. The end.
Or you didn't. Thank you. Give us your 30-second synopsis of Evil Dead, if you please.
Ancient Sumerians were kind of dicks. If a book says don't write it down and don't say it out loud, maybe you should follow it, especially if you find it in a room full of dead cats. Don't help your junkie friends. And friends suck. The end.
That's just good advice.
That's just solid.
I mean, at the risk of just jumping in, the idea that
I thought that when we jump back in is, what if instead of a cute girl, what if this was Tom Sizemore? that we're
what
all
scenario
trying
are you
to
referring
wean
to?
off his
Oh,
heroin in a haunted cabin full of death and murder.
well, ideally, this is your friend. You're not like, well, I'm only friends with you because you're a hot chickie, right? If it's Tom Sizemore, rest in peace, is your friend,
R.I.P.
uh,
R.I.P.
you help him out, right? Who's to say?
But
Um,
if you're 6'4" and possessed by an ancient Sumerian dick god, then no, sorry, don't get yourself possessed.
so now, when you had never seen this before, correct?
Mm-mm.
And you're
My
an
son
acolyte of the
assured
original.
me. My son assured me I'd seen this multiple times. That's why he refused to watch it with me. And then I just went in my room and threw it on. I was like, "What? No."
No, I'd never
I'm
seen
sure
it either.
I was offended. I'm sure I was offended because Hollywood keeps doing remakes of movies that don't need remakes. I'll send you a list of movies that had potential that just was blown out the window. Those are the movies that need a remake, not movies that worked.
Well, here's the thing: the director says this is not a remake. It takes place after the original 1981 movie, which is why you
Bullshit.
see Ash's car sitting in the forest behind the house, all rusted out.
I cry bullshit. I
I'm
cry
just
bullshit.
okay,
You can
fair
call
enough.
it a reimagining, but pretending like we're in some time space continuum, like where every 2 minutes, 5 people have to keep showing up to stay at your haunted cabin. Bullshit. This is
Well,
a
they I
you can. It's a reimagining with a nod to Ash's car. It's stupid Suspiria.
well what they say. If you're paying attention, is it seems like as
I
opposed to
can't guarantee I
Ash.
was paying attention.
That's the thing. A- Ash in the original Evil Dead movie pulls up to seemingly an abandoned cabin. It's not his cabin. Okay, he just happens to find this cabin
With a
in
bunch
the
of his
forest
homies.
with a bunch of his homies. Now, this group, the theory is this is their cabin, and when they arrive, they're like, "What the hell? Somebody's already been here."
Well,
Right?
apparently, if this was 5 years before, how often you come in? Who do you think's watching your cabin in the woods? Ooh, cabin in the is this the cabin in the woods? And in fact, if they explored a little deeper, they might find other things going on.
That's a question. No, but do you remember? I remember hearing about this movie. I remember commercials for this movie.
I saw the ads, and then some. You told me it wasn't supposed to be funny, and I was like, "Well, screw that then."
Well, and that's bared out. This movie is not funny at all. This is not a funny movie. Now, but
There
you,
were genuinely scary parts in the original, but mostly it was wacky.
well, Evil Dead 2 is straight whack. It is Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn is obviously meant to be a comedy at that
Right,
point. At that point, Bruce Campbell is the Bruce Campbell we kind of know, doing Bruce Campbell-y things
right.
by the
A
sequel.
treasure, an American treasure.
An American
Come
treasure.
out of the woods in Oregon, Bruce. We need you. America needs you now more than ever.
We need you now more than words can say. Anyway, um, yeah, it's basically watching this movie for the first time. I have to say, there were very powerful, scary moments, I thought. But this is a hard movie to sit through because it is so violent. It
Yes.
is like Saw or any of those other we're just like, I was cringing. There were cringy moments in this movie.
I cannot tell you. I mean, I can't tell you if I dislike it because I like the other one so much. I keep wondering if I had never seen The Evil Dead, would I have liked this? Or should I say, would I have liked it more? I
I
wasn't scared. I wasn't ever scared. They're creepy, but it's a lot of CGI creepiness. I think a lot of the special effects were kind of,
well,
I don't know.
let's save this and let's jump right into our highlights. What do you
All
got? You
right.
can go first, Aaron.
Um, First of all, my highlight is a low light, which is my biggest complaint. I really didn't like the rape scene in the original one with the forest, and they decided to just double down on it this time and make it,
It
even
was yes.
more disgusting and freaky. This is what happens when men are in charge. There you go.
That's what they say. That's what they say. No, yeah, she's. There were those homages, like you're talking about, reimaginings that kept popping up during this movie. But yeah,
so every subsequent one, because it's just part of the trope now. You all the women have to be raped by slimy logs before the possession, because it didn't seem like the other ladies had to be raped in order to become possessed.
This is the thing about, frankly, all these Evil Dead movies. It's like some people, they get bit and therefore are now susceptible to being possessed.
Right.
And other people, wrong place, wrong time. They just turn around and suddenly they're possessed. So who knows? Who knows what the story is?
It was the one thing I really hated in Evil Dead, and I really hated that they doubled down. They're like, that's the best part. Let's double down and make it even more disturbing.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So, but you're right. She's entangled in some trees, and the trees are grabbing her. And then what? Like a spectral, a ghosty creature comes out and pukes out some kind of weird viney thing, and it goes up her cooch.
Yeah, exactly. And she's screaming. It's horrible. I don't like it. It made me angry.
Was not a good moment, to say the least. I have to say, my first moment, where I literally rewound the movie 3 times because I was watching it on Pluto TV as.
Oh my God! I cannot tell you all the drama I had with Pluto, but we digress.
So I'm watching it, and it starts off with like the opening, like credit scroll, and total silence, and then it's like smash. There's people like wrestling in the forest, kind of thing. I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening? What, like, did I miss something? Did Pluto skip ahead 5 minutes? Because it was like mid mise en scène, if you will, where
wait,
where it's literally like suddenly it's like it almost sounds like mid soundtrack as well. Like, you know, somehow we skipped ahead. So I was bamboozled and confused to start. So it was like, what was it? It was a woman being tackled by some dude, and then another guy comes up and hits her in the head with the butt of his shotgun.
Yes.
No, I got her.
I thought this was Deliverance. I thought this was some Deliverance business.
Well, and that was so bizarre. So now they're in the basement, and she's tied up to the pole. Daddy, what happened? I just want to go home. I want to go home. And that's when you reveal it's like she's possessed. And they do that thing in those movies where it's like they seem like they're themselves and then snap back to being demons. But then it was like here's a crowd of bizarro hillbillies straight out of Deliverance. Oh, they're just here to help. We never see them again.
Eyes. Yeah.
The Total Hills Have Eyes. And the one woman is speaking Welsh.
When did this take place? Did this take place before or after Ash's version?
I think
is this every week this goes on? Is this like Friends? It's on every week.
That is correct. So the question is, where are the friendly hillbillies helping now? Right,
especially the guy with no nose. We want him back.
Yeah, there were some genetic issues in that gene pool, to say the least. Yeah, we never see them again. They never come to help. No explanation. And I always wonder, it's like, what do you tell the cops? It's like, yes, I went on a vacation to a haunted cabin, and wife and daughter, they're not with us any longer.
Michigan's a death trap. Just don't even go.
Don't even bother.
Murder and mayhem.
Murder and mayhem. So, and then it was like the leader of the hillbillies was speaking Welsh. Did you notice that in the subtitle? It said speaking Welsh. Like,
first of all, I'm not 70 years old, so of course I didn't have the subtitles on. Let me just put that out there for you.
You should. That's important. That's important. I don't want to hear. You don't care about the blood-curdling screams echoing up and down your neighborhood. I have my wife and children in the house going, "What in the hell are you watching?" And I don't want to have those uncomfortable conversations.
Most people roll over and find their husband in bed with a tablet, assume they're watching porn. Not Kevin. It's Saw. No, I can't go to sleep unless I have Saw running in the background.
I have to have Saw. No question. That's the only way I can drift to sleep like a baby. What else you got? Go for it.
Um, but one thing I do have to discuss is why are the Sumerians such dicks? You're such a bitch. I hate you. They just are filthy mouthed creatures for people who've lived so long ago.
I don't
That's
remember them ever saying they're
one per-
Sumerian, by the way.
yeah. Ancient Sumerian. When at the
When did they
very
say
end,
that?
in the
Yes.
very end, when the titles are rolling, there's this whole like newsreel footagey discussion at the end
Well, you know what that's from?
from the Evil Dead.
That's from the original. Yes, it is the original recording from the original
Yes.
movie. But what's funny, so they're called Sumerian in the first Evil Dead from 1981. When they did Dead by Dawn, I think it was like an 87 or 88, they started calling them Kandarian demons, which I don't know what the hell Kandaria is.
Because people are like, the Sumerians didn't have a word for bitch every 5 minutes.
There weren't a lot of MFs in the ancient
I
Sumerian.
think between the two Evil Dead movies, they got the Rosetta Stone or whatever, and were able to transcribe and never found the word bitch or you anywhere in the ancient text.
You may be right.
But
it depends on the
that
translator.
that they're up on current slang and stuff, but they are awfully angry.
They're as mad as hatters, no question. So now, one interesting twist on this is I thought, so they were bringing their friend, what was her name? Mimi? I don't remember what her name was.
Doesn't matter.
To the cabin because she's like, they're going cold turkey on her hard drug addiction, and which seems like a bad idea. Number one, like this is not a good plan.
Especially when it's revealed this is not the first time that she's made promises and threw her meth down the well. Like, where are they going to get drinking water now? It's all methed up.
You just stole my joke. She dumps a baggie of black tar heroin down into the well. I'm like, I guess they brought bottled water. I don't know what their plan is. If they're bathing in it. Imagine I'm soaking in it.
This water is so good. Like the next people, they're like, I've never felt so good. I got a little spring in my step. I'm going to drink some more of this magic water.
Absolutely. So, but I did appreciate the kind of juxtaposition where it's like, where the people are like, is this some kind of weird drug flashback withdrawal thing versus obviously she's possessed, right? I thought that was an interesting twist. And when she's saying, we got to get out of here, I have a bad feeling about this, they're, of course, saying, we don't
Screw
believe
you.
Right. Yeah. Screw G.
It seems like since you've been through this and she's bailed out before, that you would have come up with a plan so she could not get the car keys. One would think. One would think. Especially the sketchier she gets.
That is true. She's like drive me. They're like,
drops them off and drives off. Here are provisions. I'm taking the keys. See you in a week.
Well, what was it? I mean, again, I'm not an expert on rehab situations, but it would seem to be there are serious physical consequences when you go cold turkey from your crystal meth.
Now, it's my understanding that it's all very unpleasant, but it's really alcohol that will kill you with the withdrawals. And they had somebody there giving her injections, like they're weaning her off.
So you think that was some kind of oxy situation? They're giving her a little shot of something to get her through it?
Just to taper her down. I absolutely believe it.
Well, there was a scene where
that should have been in a lockbox, though.
Oh, yeah, no question. There's a scene where the brother's girlfriend is like, I think she needs a hospital. And the one chick who she's like, I'm a nurse, was like indignant. I'm giving her the exact same, how dare you question? It's just like, come on. She's thrashing on the floor. She's foaming at the mouth. If somebody says, are we sure she doesn't need a hospital? Your attitude to be so indignant is ridiculous, unless you're also possessed already.
They're all possessed by something. Now, did you think it was odd that like they only gave the brother like part of the story? Because then he's immediately like, if my sister asked me to take her home, I'm just gonna take her home. So wouldn't you want to preface all this with him, and then if he says that in advance, you wouldn't bring him? He's the weak link.
Honestly, the backstory was kind of the weakest part, in my opinion, because it was like The brother and the sister, I guess, were estranged. So estranged that we're not even sure he knows that she's a drug addict. Right?
Right.
Wait a minute. She OD'd? We've done this
What?
before? This is all news to me. I know nothing about this. And what is the
Ridiculous.
backstory? Where it was like the sister had to stay home with the mom who was insane and dying. Is that what it was? And the
It sounds
brother
like
was
she was in an insane asylum and she was the only one visiting.
right. Well, and like on the regular visiting. And the brother, I guess, pieced early on and never went and visited his crazy mom. And evidently never came to visit his sister in 100 years either. So
I'm telling you
that's
that shit happens. That shit happens in
oh,
real
damn.
life.
From personal experience, you have things you want to say?
Shut your mouth. No, but I've heard from friends. You know, believe it or not, I have friends and they have families and they have
Believe it or
experiences.
not. No, I mean, look, yes, people get estranged from time
Yes.
to time. I'm not I'm not disputing. Not all brothers and sisters have podcasts together. I acknowledge.
Well, and the other thing is the caregiver always feels resentful.
Yes.
Because the burden is on them, and the other person was like, well, that's what you chose to do. That's
Right.
not my relation. And also, there's some people who just can't deal. So they bounce.
So, but that's what we're supposed to think has occurred, right?
Right. She's
Mom
not
went
there.
crazy.
He's not there for her. He was not there for her.
Right. Okay. So that's what we think's happening. Now,
Right.
we've got, but it's also like the friends are kind of bitter towards the brother as well. There's that crazy blonde dude, Leif Garrett or whoever, was like, "Hey, he left all of us, and I'm still angry. Damn it!"
Yeah. It was some kind of cut off ties with all his little homies from back in the day.
With everybody. So there's so
Maybe
in the
they're all
house,
dicks. I don't know.
pretty much. I mean, who's to say? So there's the sister and the brother who've been kind of estranged. Sister's the drug addict. She has the friend who's the nurse who's going to administer this cold turkey situation.
Very convenient.
There's the hippie guy who's there. And then there's the brother's new girlfriend. Is that what the sister? They've never met her before. Is that right?
Because that's what you want to do. You want to introduce your new girlfriend, boyfriend to the family by locking them in a cabin with someone who's going through like meth withdrawals. That's fun
Hours
times.
of fun for the whole
Hours
family.
of fun.
No
Oof.
question. At one point, I literally just wrote down, this movie is crazy violent. It is crazy, and it kind of sneaks up on you. You know what I mean? It's like 30 minutes, little mood, little spookiness, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then the tree occurs. You're like, whoa, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the second chick gets she gets blood vomit thrown up all over her face. And I was like, yeesh.
That's a biohazard, my friend, even by Sumerian standards.
Right. And she's a nurse. She kind of does a half-ass attempt. I'm going to wash my face off.
And it's important that when people vomit into your mouth, thank you, Sam Raimi, that you keep your mouth open the whole time.
Whole time. You don't turn away.
Anything to escape.
No. You just take it in. Exactly. Mouth open. When they find her, the nurse now in the bathroom where she's cut off half her face, I was like, okay. This is starting to push.
We already knew that was going to happen because they have to reveal it in the book. I mean, it's like, what's that other movie that we saw that was a remake where they decided just to explain everything to us, whereas the original you had to figure it out.
I don't know. We're gonna have to think about that.
Anyway, I didn't care for this. One, the book is clearly just translated, and the guy was writing everything down, even though it's English now written all over it, in case you're a dum-dum. And then they revealed what was going to happen next with each page that turns in the book.
Right.
We already knew she was going to be the effing Joker, the Sumerian Joker.
Oh, God. And then when she attacks the dude with the needle going at him like this, I was like, oh my God.
And then he pulls it out.
Pulled the pink. He actually seemed remarkably okay after that attack, honestly.
Dude, he's eating right because he went through a lot before he finally perished, including a crowbar to the head a couple of times.
Multiple times.
Dude,
Crunch,
he's got
crunch.
that. They should have saved some of that seed because we could raise an army of Supermen from this.
So, if you've never seen this movie before, I want to reestablish because look, the Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 movies are both there's a lot of kind of goop in those movies. You know what I mean? There's a lot of glop, there's a lot of slime, there's a lot of green stuff splashing or black stuff splashing around. You could argue it's kind of gross. I get it. This is on a whole nother level where you're literally like cringing from the violence that occurs in this movie.
I
And
will
that's what
tell
they're
you
going
something.
for.
Yeah, I will tell you one shot that was particularly disturbing is he's decided that there's all these ways to kill these demons to purify them, and then the monsters leave, right?
Right.
So one of them is to bury the person alive. So he puts a plastic bag over his sister's head and starts
Yes.
burying her alive. And the image of the face inside the plastic bag while it's talking to him is so disturbing. It's really freaking creepy. This is exactly like all our serial killers. This looks like a slice right out of that.
Well, what's funny is, so I didn't understand his plan because I guess you have to bury them alive until they're dead.
Right.
But then he resuscitates her by using a car battery and a couple syringes, like some kind of weird MacGyver situation,
Good
shocking
God.
her, trying to get her heart to come back in. Meanwhile, the plastic bag's still over her head. So don't you? For a CPR situation, don't you have to do some kind of a CPR?
And she has half the rainforest still up her hook.
There's no removal of the rainforest. It's very upsetting.
The rape forest.
The rape forest. One thing I noticed is that when the people are possessed, they're kind of like bug people because they're constantly like twitching and kind of
Yeah,
weird.
it was a little bit of The Last of Us. Maybe they got a little fungi in there.
A little fungi. That's what happens. I thought that was an interesting when they weren't like totally like talking all demonically, they were just kind of twitching and snapping. I did think it was kind of effective when they'd show the girl kind of peeking out from under the thing with her crazy yellow eyes staring at people. I thought that those moments were cool.
Because they were successful in the original one too, where they're sticking out there laughing at them. I really enjoyed the original Evil Dead where there was two of them possessed and they were like talking to each other. We're gonna get you.
Right.
That was one of the most creepy scenes from the original. That and the pencil in the leg.
Yeah, there were those moments in the original. But as I said, when she takes out the X-Acto blade and licks the blade and literally bisects her tongue, I was just like,
yeah.
This is, in case you haven't gotten this, ladies and gentlemen, not my cup of tea. This, I don't really, I like, and to each their own. Let me just preface that by saying, whatever you're into, God bless you. I like my horror movies to be kind of fun. You know what I mean? And I think when it gets too grisly, it oftentimes the fun is kind of sucked out of it, in my opinion.
Right.
What say you?
No, I agree. But like I said, I'm in a quandary because, they really took one of my classics and took the soul out of it, I think. And if I don't know if I saw this, but like first, what I would think about it. I feel like I'm stuck. I'm assuming I wouldn't like it. I wonder what other people who maybe hadn't seen the original one and so didn't know. I mean, they're making a new one, right? So it must have been successful because it is disturbing. And there are people who really like that kind of violence. But I was not scared. I was not scared. There were like moments where I was like, ooh. But it made me like cringe, but it didn't scare me.
I think that's the question. It's hard for me to even know. I shouldn't say that. I felt that there were strong atmospheric moments in this. I thought the performances were good. I thought the direction was good. I really liked all the other stuff about it. Now, granted, when I go see an Evil Dead movie, I'm looking for kind of a campy, slapsticky kind of thing, and this was
Right.
definitely not
Not. Yeah.
that. But that being said, I can still appreciate. Not every movie I watch has to be campiness, but it was so violent. Not to be a prude, but that's just not my bag, baby. Is kind of
Yeah.
what I say.
No.
Other
I
people,
want to
and it
be
was a hit.
scared. I don't want to be sick. I'm like, it's not my jam. It's not my jam.
It's not my jam. It's not my jam. But it was. I mean, it was obviously a well-made film. You know what I mean? One
We're
thing that I
trying to
was
find nice things to say.
no,
That's what it
it
feels
was
like.
because I was sitting there as I'm watching. I'm like, I'm not going to give you my rating, but at one point I'm like, is this a 1-star movie for me? And then I was like, it can't be a 1-star movie because
Right.
it's 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 too
Yeah.
competently prepared. I mean, it's not schlock, it's not crap, but it's just I acknowledge not my thing. So it's like,
Well,
what
you
do
know
you
what
do?
it is you can bring in the finest actors, the finest writers, the finest cinematographers, and if it just doesn't have that spark, it doesn't matter. And for me, it doesn't have the spark.
And people, I think people really liked this movie, and it actually
I
was
think they do.
successful. It was successful. It was a hit. It didn't lose money.
No.
I mean, comparatively speaking, for a horror movie, it was a success. It wasn't like
Right.
it didn't make $1 billion worldwide or anything like that. But we'll talk more about this. One thing
Was
that I
it
have to,
better than Crimson Peak? Yes.
I never saw it. Was that crapola?
It was bullshit. It started off strong, and then it just went. Brrr. Thank you, Guillermo del Toro. You're going on the list with M. Night.
You made the list. You made the list. So by the and I guess I've noticed this from other Evil Dead movies. Is it seems like half the cast is dead or demonic very quickly. Like
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, this is getting. They're knocking them off left and right, and the last two guys all have like stab wounds or bullet wounds or
Or staple guns through their heads, every part of their
nails.
body.
Look, I
Nails.
mean, they got hit with nails. By the way, you cannot shoot a nail gun like a Saturday Night Special. It doesn't work that way for obvious reasons. Uh,
Well,
so
you don't know. The ancient Sumerians taught themselves all common swear words, so maybe they also taught themselves some kind of electrical, some engineering. Maybe they have special mechanical minds now.
it's possible. I'm not taking it off the table.
Moving stones and working on high pressure. And is it just battery operated?
Right. Nail guns are pneumatic. You have to have like like an air compressor to use it, which of course they did not have.
They did not. Well, because they use their evil powers.
They use their evil powers. No question. Multiple times in this movie, like people literally just tear their arms off or their arms just rip off.
Dude, you did at one point the chick, her hands getting funky because she got bit by a rabid best friend, and she is taking one of those old like 70s 80s meat carvers because in case you're too weak and you can't carve the roast yourself, and is going through not in a joint, like in the mid bicep, and she's just holding it there. Nah.
Well, and she stands up.
I remember not being able to cut through like ham half the time. Yes. But now it's going to go through this huge bone.
Yes.
I got to get one because apparently when the shit goes down, all you need is the Ronco meat slicer.
That you can cut a tin can with those things.
Yes.
She cuts through, I want to say 80% of her arm and then stands up and the rest of it just tears free and just drops on the ground. I was like, oh God, please. What is happening? And later in the movie, the girl gets her hand stuck under the Jeep, which is basically thrown on top of her, and she just rips loose.
How is that even a thing? Because she's looking through the window and she can see her hand like waving back to her. Yes. So clearly there's some function.
Not anymore. Tear. I kept okay. By the end, you think
waiting for the hands and the limbs that have been torn off but possessed to come to life like an original Evil Dead, like Thing cruising by, or
A Farewell to Arms. So you think, at least I thought, that the brother was going to be the sole survivor of the movie, even though honestly, he was kind of a zero. His performance and his character was kind of a zero.
No, he brought nothing.
So you think he's going to be the one, but then he revives his sister, who's been the demon for the entire movie. So she's like scalded and scarred and jacked up. When she is revived, now fresh, porcelain skin, totally fine, everything's cool. And then he's dead, and now she's the survivor. And again, she's the one who was supposed to be kicking the hash. The whole reason why they're there, basically, you have to think she's definitely going back on the drugs after this weekend.
One would think.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the problem is it has to be 5 people. So why are they even chasing her? Because at this point, she's burned the other ones, so they're all free. So what's the point now? They're just pissed?
So, okay, so they've stolen the 5 souls. And I guess the brother, there was a deleted scene where the brother's soul was taken right before the house blows up. So,
but it doesn't matter, because you can purify them,
right,
by burying them alive, by burning. So everybody in the house should have been purified. So that means they're back to 0.
Well, I think it means your soul is purified. Like your soul is at peace.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're alive again.
No, it doesn't mean you're alive again. But what I'm saying is the Sumerians now lost those 4 lives.
Oh, I don't know.
And according to the story, it has to be 5 to bring back whatever this whatever god. And I don't understand why no one ever just poured a block of concrete around this book and just dropped it. Wrapping it in plastic with barbed wire from 2 years before, that seemed like the way. Did the hillbillies not have concrete? Drop this bitch in a lake? Mafia style? Come on.
Sleeps with the fishes. Well, it's kind of the thing where it's like, if this was you and you were in this situation and you found this crazy book wrapped in barbed wire in the basement with all the dead animals hanging from the roof where there was clearly blood splattered everywhere, would you be like, oh, I'm going to read this?
I'm going to be, we're out of here.
I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. This place is disgusting. It stinks, and maybe these freaks are coming back.
Absolutely.
We're going to drop you off at County. You can check yourself in. You're unwilling to do that? Fuck you.
I'm out of here. I'm not right, but that's kind of a reoccurring motif. It's like you have to come up with a reason why the people don't just leave. And
why do the people keep leaving the book there?
Oh, are you taking it with you? I ain't taking it with me.
No, bury it in the hole. Can we learn you can't burn it? Nothing says you can't bury it in the hole. Sink it in the well.
Sink it in the well with the black tar heroin.
With wrap it in black tar heroin, sink it in the well.
So
because plastic is gonna protect it. What was the point of that? And like barbed wire? Like people are like, I don't know how I'm gonna get into it. It's covered in plastic, and we don't have tools to remove wire from things.
They took a Glad trash bag and wrapped it. Yes, it was neither here nor there. Any last thoughts and feelings before we go behind the scenes?
Methinks I'm not going to go see the Evil Dead Rises.
Oh, really? Based upon your reaction to this one, you're out.
Methinks I am not. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, let's go behind the scenes, shall we?
Let's.
95% of this remake was shot in chronological order. This was done because a lot of the film takes place in a controlled environment, and the level of blood and violence gets worse and worse as the film progresses. And by shooting in order, the filmmakers could throw blood on the walls and not worry about it, that it would mess up another shot.
So to save money. Well, I want to say it's a creative choice, but the reality is it's to save money.
Well, and I think to save time as well. Yeah. It's like you don't have to clean the walls between every take or whatever.
And then they shot it in Australia, which seems to me a money-saving adventure.
Oh, it must be, right? Let's see.
Canada's now too expensive, and the Eastern Bloc just didn't work.
The Bulgaria, exactly. According to reports in the press, the film used 70,000 gallons of fake blood. In an interview, the director said they used 50,000 gallons, and this is compared to the 200 or 300 gallons used in the original. So there you go.
All right.
Well, and because there's a scene at the end where it's raining blood, so that kind of
how much did they use in Django Unchained for the massacre scene?
A teaspoon. No,
compared.
That scene is bloody as all hell. When producer Rob Tappert suggested the possibility of an Evil Dead remake to Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, Raimi was interested, where Campbell was the least enthusiastic because he did not want someone else to be recast as the role of Ash.
Right.
He said that's his thing, baby. By the way, did you watch the final? It was not really a post-credit scene, but there was a little something at the end of the credits. Did you see it?
I think I was on the TikTok and only listening. What did I miss?
All it was is you see a silhouette of Bruce Campbell's face, and he turns to the Campbell and says, "Groovy," and that's it.
Love him. I did see that he was involved in the writing and all of that.
He was involved. He is basically, his attitude was like, as long as it is an original thing, and not like a true remake where it's like, who's the new Ash, then he was okay with it, I guess.
All right.
Initially, after making this movie, they were going to make an Army of Darkness 2 that was going to have the same continuity as this movie and connect the survivor Mia with Ash, and they were going to fight the Deadites. But they junked
Army of Darkness is delightful.
It's damn delightful.
I love Army of Darkness.
So instead, they shelved that idea and they came up with Ash versus Evil Dead, which was that series that was on for 3 years.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw it.
It was all right. It's the problem with a lot of these things is if you're going to make it kind of campy, I have to laugh sometimes. And if I don't, then I'm not feeling it. And frankly,
Bubba Hotep.
Uh-oh. No can do. It's no Congo.
No can do. Nah.
Well, and the other thing is like, I don't mind sitting down for a Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, but when every week it's a splash of grossness, I was like, okay. There's only so much.
You can't do it. You can't do it. It's too hard. I mean, it's too hard.
It is. The film was originally rated NC-17 because of the violence. Because of the incredible violence. They had to tone it down to get the R rating. The names of the characters, David, Eric, Mia, Olivia, and Natalie, spell the words demon. First letters. There you go.
Okay.
This film was banned in Ukraine for its extreme violence. There you go. Let's see. There were a lot of callbacks to the original movie. The "You Were All Going to Die Tonight" scene has an overlay during Mia's screaming of the "One by One We Will Take You" demonic voice from the original film, which is one of the director's many nods. So there you go. Let's see. I think that's about it.
And then the chick popping up from the basement, staring out.
Absolutely. Well, there's the scene, honestly, when he goes down there to grab his sister. It's basically a recreation of the scenes from Evil Dead 2, where it's like, and he's constantly like thrown against the wall. I mean, it was basically a Bruce Campbell, like, total homage.
I'm sorry, just not as good. Not as good. Where's the tiny ashes? I love the first two, with the exception of the rape scene. I love the first two.
Okay.
So I was like, You don't want to see Bruce Campbell's face stuck to the stove, so he uses a spatula to scrape his face off.
Okay, this is all Army of Darkness you're quoting.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's all the same.
It's all the same thing. Did you notice, and I've discovered this on Wikipedia, that the abomination creature that comes out at the end and chases her around is her body? Like it's supposed to be her body, essentially, like a doppelganger is chasing her. Did you notice that? Because I didn't
I did
notice that.
not. I did not pick that up at all.
Let's see. Jane Levy played Mia. You know her from such things as
Is she related to Eugene?
Yes, she is. Zoe, no, she's not. Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. She was in the horror movie Don't Breathe. And of course, Evil Dead. Let's see. Shiloh Fernandez played her brother David. And you know him from such films as Evil Dead, Red Riding Hood, The East, Dead Girl. You know him, don't you? Jessica Lucas, who I'd actually seen before. She was the nurse. She played Olivia. You know her from The Covenant. She was in Cloverfield. She was in Evil Dead. She was in that movie Pompeii with Kit Harington. So there you go.
I haven't seen any of that.
You haven't seen any of these movies?
Poor Kit. All these Game of Thrones people thought they were rolling off into like super movie stardom.
Oh, very sad.
Sad.
Lou Taylor Pucci played Eric. He was the blonde dude who looked like he stepped out of the 70s. Yep. He was in 3 episodes of the series You on Netflix.
I do love You.
He was in Physical, 19 episodes of the TV show Physical on Apple TV. He was in Thumbsucker and Evil Dead.
All right.
There you go. It's an all-star cast. Let's see. Last one I'm going to say is Elizabeth Blackmore played Natalie, the girlfriend. You know her. She's one who chops her arm off. Good grief. She was in Evil Dead. She was in 6 episodes of Supernatural. She was in 6 episodes of Legend of the Seeker and 16 episodes of The Vampire Diaries.
Okay.
So there you go. A lot of TV work.
A lot of TV work.
The writer-director is Fede Alvarez, who you know from Don't Breathe, Evil Dead. He wrote The Girl in the Spider's Web, which was the one of the more recent Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movies. He wrote something called El Cojonudo. So there you go. You know him, don't you? I think that's about it.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with his directing. It's just not my jam.
It's just not my jam. That's the thing. Let's talk about the ratings, shall we? Evil Dead from 2013. Currently, 63% on Rotten Tomatoes. Do you know what the audience gave it?
All right. After that, I want you to tell me what the original got. All right. The audience gave it 72.
63. So there you go. Let's look at the top critics. I'm not going to look up. Maybe you can look it up while I do.
Maybe I will. You always yell at me. Why are you on your phone during the podcast?
I am juggling plates here. Let's see. There's a million top critics here. Let me see if I can find one that you would care about. Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times. I'm bored to death and sick to death of movies that seem to have one goal. How can we gross out the audience by torturing nearly every major character in the movie? 1 out of 4. Boom. He's sick to death of it. So that tells you how he feels.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. There was one other I wanted to look at. Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian. A full-bloodedly grisly and macabre film that zaps over a few scares. 3 out of 5.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Lay it on me.
Okay, you said it was 63 for the new one?
Yep.
The original had an 85.
I could see that.
And the remake, Evil Dead 2, had an 88.
Yep.
Army of Darkness, only a 69. But fans gave it an 87.
Absolutely. No question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what is your...
Versus the Evil Dead,
Oh, here we go.
99.
Now that's ridiculous. There's no way Ash versus Evil Dead is a 99.
And then fans only gave it a 95. Actually gave it less.
99. I mean, probably like 2 reviewers and they're giving it 99%. That's ridiculous.
I have not seen that. I didn't realize Lucy Lawless was in it, but she's an old Raimi from back in the old days.
Ash vs. Evil Dead is on Netflix.
And
So
let
you
me
can
just
watch
tell
it.
you this last bit. Evil Dead Rise, 95%.
It looks creepy. It looks creepy. It's a different director. So, anyway, this is neither here nor there. What is your rating of 2013's Evil Dead? Not The Evil Dead, like the original, just Evil Dead. So go ahead.
I'm going to give it 2 prickly pear cactuses up the ass of this director out of 5.
Why does it have to be personal attack? Sweet Jesus.
Only
Yeah,
get expanded to all male cast members who didn't get raped in any of these movies.
that is true. That'd be a different film. I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5 kilos of black tar heroin thrown in the water supply. Is what I'm gonna say.
Maybe this is what happens. The movie with the mutant bear. It's because they've polluted the water with their drugs, and now you get melty gummy bears roaming the forest, giant frogs,
That's
weird
prophecy.
Salmon.
Absolutely.
The prophecy.
No
It just there we go. Rolls right into prophecy. You're welcome, Australia.
I told you as I was watching it, I'm like, they do a lot of good things here. I thought the main dude.
You're trying too hard. You're trying too hard.
No, I'm
You're
not.
trying
I'm saying
too hard.
I was conflicted because the level of violence had me say, "This is this a 1? Is this a half star review?" Is what I was literally thinking. I'm like, there's no way it can be that low because there are good things about it. It's just it's clear that their goal was to be kind of so violent as to offend. Honestly, I mean that was the goal. Now there are people who that's what they love, you know, and whatever floats your boat, right? Just not my thing, and that's. I mean, generally
people like
speaking,
to have sex with donkeys, and that's their thing. There's people who like to watch very violent films.
Donkeys can't give consent, by the way. That's cruel.
It's very sad. Thank you, PETA.
Thank you, PETA. Sweet Jesus. So, thank you very much. Go to our page on Twitter. We are on Facebook. Aaron, are we on Twitter? Are we on Instagram? What's going on?
We are on Twitter. We are on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We are on the Ticker Talker, at least for now, until the government bans TikTok, whatever.
And if you go on those things for us, Instagram and TikTok, you will see our fancy videos, our WTF videos that we do for fun, all sorts of good stuff. So check
Kevin
out.
is the king of the what the F videos.
They're just fun.
He's got a fever.
I got a fever.
It's the Sumerians.
And the only prescription. It's true. No question. No, we try to find at least one ridiculous scene from every movie we do. And some movies it's hard. Some movies it's not easy to find a ridiculous scene.
What are you going to lift from this one? That's what I want to know.
You don't want to know, I think. I mean, what scenes could I show that aren't going to be totally disgusting and horrifying, get blocked off? So this is a problem for another day. We'll figure it out. We are on, you can email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. And we're also on YouTube. So you can watch us or you can listen to us, whatever floats your boat. So good.
Or you can do both simultaneously. So and you can see how we live in like hoarder squalor. I am recording from my hoarder hollow where I shove everything so the rest of the house seems to be in order. This is just piles of art supplies. Where my brother is apparently there's a couch.
Caleb's room.
Caleb's room with
Yes, I
a Nick Cage pillow and plushies and like twinkle lights kind of hanging randomly.
absolutely. That's all you need. That's all
Mm-hmm.
you need. So like,
Mm-hmm.
share, rate, and review, won't you?
Won't
Aaron,
you
what is
please?
your what is your social media jibber jabber?
My media is I'm on the IG. I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. I am also Don't Feed the Pigeon on the IG. I am on the Ticker Talker, but it's the Don't Feed the Pigeon.
All sorts of
Basically,
good
I just
stuff.
get sucked into the death scroll and the TikTok. It's
And
bad.
you're
It's
on
a drug.
Artsy and First Dibs.
You can buy my beautiful work on Artsy and First Dibs, Aaron Doherty. Purchase something. Polaroids, baby. That's where it's at.
Beautiful. Next week we're going to be discussing the science fiction classic John Carter, starring Taylor Kitsch, formerly of Friday Night Lights. We're going to be actually going on another podcast to discuss this as well, so you have that to look forward to. I'll give you more information as time approaches.
All
If you
right.
want to watch John Carter with us, you can watch it for free if you have Disney Plus.
I
How about
don't.
that? If you don't,
It's too much already with all the subscriptions.
if you want to pay full freight, it's on Amazon Prime, Vudu, Redbox, all sorts of the usual places you could check it out.
The usual
So,
suspect.
so send in your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and we may talk about it on the show. So good times had by all. Thank you
True.
very much, and be well.
Be well, children.